Who's your I fucking hate this guy? My 30-something-year-old neighbor. We share a property line with this clown. I planted a row of lilac bushes almost 25 years ago, and he wants me to take them out because he says they block the sun from his garden. The lilacs are planted well on our side of the property line, but he thinks that his back fence was built 2 feet into his property and that the lilacs are really on his property. This has been going on for over 3 years, so I shelled out $3,000 for a survey and lo and behold the property line is exactly where I thought it was, 3 feet from my lilac hedge. A fence is being erected as soon as the ground thaws. Fuck him. I used to work as a receptionist for an OB office and there was a patient's husband that we all loathed. He called his wife a fat cow in front of the nurse. When she was in the hospital having baby -9 and needed an emergency C-section, the hospital had to get security involved because he was blocking the door so they couldn't take her to the OR. He refused to let her have a hysterectomy even though she had a lot of medical issues that could have been resolved by that. She didn't legally need his permission, but they were Amish, so she submitted to him. He made her try for a vaginal delivery after a C-section, even though it was more risky. He wouldn't let her take insulin for her gestational diabetes. I came to the conclusion that he was trying to make her die without actually pulling the trigger physically. He was an absolute monster, and I still think about her and wonder if she's okay. 6 years later I still remember her name. My apartment neighbor Esther's grandson will come visit her and pull into our apartment's lot vertically behind our cars that park horizontally, thus blocking them in. He doesn't stay long when he does this, and I've never actually been trapped in, but it fills me with rage to see, especially when there are spots available he could park in. In conclusion, F***CKS's grandson. My ex-boss was a colossal dick. You know this type who are always right, even when they are wrong, easily passes you any work they deem hard, while having this mentality that you are some kind of computer-controlled drone who exists to telepathically know what he needs, and when designed to serve him. Guy had this belief that everything can only be done right if done his way, anything else is faulty, even if it's done properly as it's dictated by the client. I still remember this event. I was upside in an attic fixing wiring when I hear this conversation below. Ex-boss, this was made the wrong way. Umbral disappointment is such a useless worker. How can he not understand such a simple task? Boss 2 enters the scene and is not aware of the previous complaints. What's the matter? Did John, other worker, did something bad with that one? Ex-boss, John did this? Boss 2, yeah, he just finished an hour ago. Something is wrong. Ex-boss, no, it's perfect. Tell him it was good work. The suit guy from Train to Busan. Been a while since a movie made me actually hate someone, but this dude is another level. My sister. Pretty sure she's a sociopath. Manipulates and takes advantage of weaker people. Refuses to get help, even though she calls herself crazy. My best friend moved to a different state, met a guy, and quickly got engaged. She brought him to meet us, and he told me how much he made within the first 10 minutes. Asked what I made, scoffed at the amount. Said he would never live in my apt because we didn't have an elevator. Said he would never be caught dead driving in a car like mine. Also said he buys new cars every 2 years. Talked over my friend constantly. I would ask her a question and he would answer for her. He complained about the amount of money she made and made fun of her job. She's a social worker who works with underage girls that have eating disorders. He styles his mustache to do that pretentious curl thing with wax. Fuck that guy. My brother's uncle, I refuse to claim him. He's an alcoholic and a drug addict that put my grandparents through hell. Some of the gems he said to his mother's face, why don't you just give me my inheritance now? Why would I want to ruin my Christmas Eve by spending it with you? Then once she died, it was oh boo-hoo, swore he would put family first. He then proceeded to treat my grandfather like shit. And because grandpa lived with me, I saw it firsthand. He would say he was coming over on Sunday, so grandpa would be up at the crack of dawn ready to go, and would be sitting watching out the window like a kid who has divorced parents, and is waiting for his dad to show up for his weekend. He would sit there all day, and then be heartbroken, when the fucker didn't show up and never called. Listening to my grandfather cry, because he was so upset made me see red. Then once grandpa died, it was all boohoo for me all over again. Since both of my grandparents were now gone, I ripped into him, and told him exactly what I thought of him. That was 13 years ago, and it still wasn't enough for me. Recently he told his probation officer that he lived with me, and gave his PO my address. The PO then comes to me looking for him. That was a fun conversation. He's a pathetic, worthless waste of oxygen, and I hope he dies cold, alone, and painfully slowly. These are just a couple examples, but don't even scratch the surface of what a piece of shit he is. There was a person who told me he has the right to have sex with a girl in my class because his father is an independent entrepreneur while the girl's is employed at an agency. Kenneth Copeland is a good starting point. The drunk random guy who follows you and your friends around on a night out. So I have played in bands in many areas and on many different stages. This covers more of a type of guy. It's the dude who is in a local band that are popular and now think that, because they buy views on YouTube, that they are the next big thing and will bring the scene back and look down on every other band. But their band are actually not as good as they think they are. The kind that has more merch than songs and the music is just a bit meh. All bands are doing the same thing. Support and lift up the local bands, network and celebrate when they do well. It isn't that hard to just not be a complete egotistical dick. That guy. The type of people where you can see right through their bullshit but nobody else can. Used to work with a guy who bragged about having sex with my ex-girlfriend while I was with her. We were 16 and 17. He was in his 20s. Also she wasn't conscious. Can I be general? The guy who abruptly stops walking in the middle of a hallway/sidewalk, or has their neck completely craned over their phone, and is walking at like 2 steps per minute. I know I'm American and the stereotype is that we are all rushing around abusive but seriously dude. I have long legs and places to be. Pick up the pace. Worked as a receptionist at an eye doctor/glasses store for a bit. There was this one dude who I kept needing to call, confirm exam appointment, question about order, his glasses are ready, his glasses were ready a week ago, and he still hasn't picked them up, etc. This dude never answered his phone, and his voicemail message was 2 minutes of him acting like he couldn't hear you. Hello, hello. I can't hear you etc. And then him saying just text me, and then you hear the beep for the voicemail machine to start recording. First time I fell for it, because he did a genuinely convincing job. Every other time I had to sit through this long ass thing to be able to actually leave a message. Bet this idiot thought he was so clever and didn't even consider that someone other than his friends would call. No, I can't just text you from the Vision Center's landline. Hope this guy gets a clue before he applies to jobs with this or something. Fuck that guy. Bobby Kotick, this guy ruined so many good games, ruined Blizzard, overlooked sexual assault, and is going to walk away with tens of millions for being fired, technically resigned. So yeah, fuck that guy. Any dude whose personality revolves around being alpha. My sister's boyfriend. Fuckhead throws her around like a rag doll whenever he gets pissy at her, pulled a knife on her during an argument once, tried to fight me twice cause I hurted his feelings. He's 20 and I'm 15, though I'm a big ass 15-year-old, talks shit about my mom, dad, grandma, talked shit about my late grandma even after she died, skips work half the time just to be with her, is racist, bigoted, never knows what he's talking about, isn't in school for shit, never pays the rent he agreed to, and spends his paycheck on junk food, talks shit about my favorite cousin, threatens to kick the ass of any dude my sister even mentions in conversation, and even made a sexual remark about a friend of mine when she was 13 and he was about 17. Fuck him. Oh, and he cries and plays victim when you call him out on his shit. A former HS teammate of mine was just a huge jerk to everyone, and what pissed me off the most about him was his stories would be about how God wants you to be a really nice person. Mind you, I'm religious too, I'm not knocking that part, but then he's a complete jackass. I roll. Had it out for me specifically since day one. The only dude on this planet I genuinely hate. Not a guy, but my middle school algebra teacher. I got my period at the beginning of class, and she refused to let me go to the bathroom. I bled all over myself for over an hour, and had to wear bloody clothes the rest of the day. Fuck you, Mrs. Lin. Edit to at, I didn't tell her what had happened, because I was very young, and embarrassed by the whole thing. Still, the idea of denying students the right to go to the bathroom when required is insane. There were these two stereotypical dumb fuckboys at my last job. Inconsiderate, blasting loud shitty trap music, talked about how they both have hoes for days, show up to work drunk or high, never talked about anything intelligent. Fuck, I couldn't stand those fuckers. A guy who bullied me for 3 years straight for fun. This one guy who is trying to sell his self-motivation program when he has absolutely zero training, credentials, or anything to counsel people. He talks out of his ass on Facebook Lives all the time. Based on what I know about his personal life, he is in no position to be hawking his program. I feel bad for being that annoyed with him, because he's been pretty nice to me, but he could really harm someone with what he's doing and it really bothers me. Edit to at, I forgot he also started trying to sell a workout/diet program after going to the gym for less than 2 months. Absolute grifter.